Good morning, everybody. It's 11:30 here. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Rebecca, and I'm going to be giving a presentation for you today on games, not worksheets. We have also with us today, Kathleen Cotter-Clayton. She is going to be manning the chat box. So if you have any questions or anything, go ahead and send her a message. She says hi in the video, and she'll be there to help answer any questions you might have during the presentation. So we are recording this so that you can always come back later. I'm going to get through a lot of information here over about 20 minutes and then hopefully have some time at the end for some questions. So we're going to record this so that hopefully if I talk too fast for you, you can come back and rewatch it later. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's see if my computer is going to fast forward through a bunch of slides, or sometimes it gets stuck. We'll just do it that way. There we go. So a little bit about myself and why I'm giving this presentation. So I have homeschooled my kids all the way through. My daughter is currently she's a freshman at the U.S. Air Force Academy, and my son is a junior in high school. I'm taking college classes, and my husband and I are both engineers. But one thing that's different about it is my daughter and I both struggled in math. And when I struggled, I was in public school and I still became an engineer despite my struggles. And when my daughter was little, I realized that I was teaching her the way I had been taught. And when she was about in kindergarten time, she wasn't understanding things. I recognized that right away. And so that's when I started looking for a curriculum that taught her the whys behind the math, to really give her a firm understanding. So she struggled through kind of understanding and getting that visual of math all the way until high school. And we worked our way through RightStart, and I really had to trust the process. And it was hard. There were ups and downs with it, but it paid off in the end because she decided in high school that she wanted to do a STEM career. And so she kind of took the bull by the horns and just went for it and ended up graduating high school with Calculus 2 under her belt. And so she's kind of my poster child for trusting the RightStart process, because she went from struggling and I was nervous about her being behind, and are these games really worth it? And I feel like, I really struggled at times, but she is now studying to be a physicist. And so it really, really works. On the opposite spectrum, my son has always understood math more easily. He could see the numbers in his head naturally. Kids that struggle don't have that natural ability. So RightStart does a great job giving that to them. My son didn't struggle, and he's not going into a STEM career, but he still understands it and loves math and enjoys it. And so it has worked for both spectrums for the kids of our family. So, but there's some quick little photos. We live in Minnesota, and so these are all photos from this year of all the snow that we've gotten around here. So thought that would be kind of fun to just share a little bit about myself as to why I'm giving you this presentation today. All right, so why are we playing games? Well, games are to math as books are to reading. So as a homeschooler, I remember trudging down to the library, and I'm teaching my kids how to read and piling on the books, like getting all the fun books that we can, bringing them home, trying to find the right ones that they love this week because it changes, right? Taking them, all the books back and getting new books and just trying my hardest to find something that they really enjoy and love. And we work so hard to do that. And games are that for math class. It gives the puzzles, it gives the fun, it gives the interaction. And so when we're spending as much energy as we can in order to get those books that the kids love, we also want to make sure that we're expending energy to find the games that the kids love. And we have so many that there are ones that are going to be winners and then some that aren't going to go so well with the family. But keep trying in order to make sure you're getting those fun games that the kids love. Another reason why we play games is that games are more efficient. One game is the equivalent of one or a lot of times more worksheets. So in the time that you're playing this game, let's say we're playing the game Go to the Dump. It's kind of the quintessential RightStart math game. A lot of the families love it. It's got a silly name. The kids think it's hilarious, but it's based on Go Fish, which a lot of people really naturally know how to play. And if you've never played it before, basically you've got your deck of cards, and let's say you've got a 2 in your hand. You're looking for the number that when added to the 2 equals 10. So if you've got a 2 in your hand, you're looking for an 8, right? And so we're practicing those 10 facts. 2 plus 8 is 10. If you've got a 1, you're looking for a 9. So we're practicing those 10 facts. And by playing this game, you're playing an equivalent of an addition worksheet. And as you're starting to practice this game and play it more, the kids realize, hey, it's also subtraction. 9 or 10 minus 1, if I got a 1 in my hand, I'm looking for a 9. They're practicing the subtraction facts. And then additional to that, this game, they're solving for an unknown. They've got a 2 in their hand. Gosh, what do they need to make 10? And those are like algebraic concepts that they're playing just by playing this really simple math game. It is more efficient to get that practice than a worksheet is. Our next point is why we play games, is that mathematics is not a solitary pursuit. So in the beginning of every math book, we have what we call the II pages, a whole bunch of tips and tricks as to why we teach the way we do and some things to remember. And so number 11 there says, mathematics is not a solitary pursuit. According to Richard Skemp, solitary math on paper is like reading music rather than listening to it. Mathematics, like music, needs to be expressed in physical actions and human interactions before its symbols can evoke the silent patterns of mathematical ideas, like the musical notes, simultaneous relationships like harmonies, and expositions or proofs like melodies. So it's not meant to be by yourself, just staring at a piece of paper. It needs to, the more interaction you have with it, the more understanding and fun you get with it. Kind of like playing, I love playing music, and it's more fun if you guys are a musician to play with other people, isn't it? It's more fun to kind of get that whole experience all together. All right, understanding versus communicating. So when you're concentrating on worksheets in that written form, that's how we communicate math. So let's talk about like the numeral 7. If we look at it on our abacus, or we look at it on beads or items, and especially on our abacus, we can break it into 5. So it's 5 and 2, or on our hands, we look at the number 7, and we can rearrange it. We can look at it as 4 and 3. We can look at it as an odd number. It's 3 away from 10. It's all of these things. So that's the understanding of the numeral 7. The written form, the numeral 7, is how we communicate what that means. And so when we're practicing on just paper, we're really practicing the communication of that. But that just because a child can communicate with numerals doesn't mean that they're understanding what those numerals represent, what that math really is. And that's where the games really excel, is to advance that understanding versus that communicating. My daughter is a communicator. My daughter loves to write. She loved the worksheets. She loves to write stories and pages and pages and pages when she was little, of all these stories. And so I can understand those people, like my daughter loves worksheets. And I understand that because I was there. But we need to really still go back to those games so that we get the firm understanding that your child understands what the math is, not just understands how to communicate it. Next on our list is worksheets should not be a collection of similar exercises. Now, if we go back to those II pages at the beginning of your book, we have number 22. And it says worksheets should also make the child think. Therefore, they should not be a large collection of similar exercises. but should present a variety. So with that being said, we want to make sure that we're not just giving worksheets of over and over and over and over and over and doing the same thing over again, because that's not how worksheets can be most effectively used. So in RightStart, we give variety, we give them thinking questions in the worksheets that practice. How do we get more practice? We get that question a lot. How do we get more practice with the math? That is the games. That's where that practice comes from. Math should be enjoyable. Number 23. So you could go back on the beginning of your books and read all of these wonderful tips. I'm just pulling out the ones that are very pertinent to our discussion today, but there's such great information in there. Number 23 says, keep math time enjoyable. Okay, big one. We store our emotional state along with what we've learned. So how are we feeling when we learned it? Were we frustrated? Were we excited? Were we enjoyable? Yeah, and it kind of like, have you ever, been someplace and you have this memory? Oh, I remember this, but it was where you were, or what you were listening to might trigger a memory, whether it's happy or sad. And so those emotions, along with what you learned, are so linked together. So I like in here too, it says, if a lesson's too hard, stop and play a game. We want to always go back and kind of play the games and get that enjoyment back, even if it's a simple, easy game that they enjoy. Let's just try it again later. Let's just play a game, because you're going to have so much more effectiveness because the games are fun, they're efficient, they're successful. And sometimes we think, oh, we have to get through the lesson. We have to get through the worksheet, and then we'll play a game if we have time. I'd like to challenge you to reverse that and make the games a higher priority, and do the worksheet if you have time, or do the lesson if you have time. And I know that goes against so much of what we've learned, especially if you're public school. You learn in public school like I did, where, you've got to turn in the worksheet and you have to finish it in order to be successful for the day. So I challenge you to play a game instead. And I've got some tips on that as we go along today. And I like to say, this is my quote, a game a day keeps the worksheets away. Even though there's not necessarily a game assigned, play a game. Because if you're playing those games, one that you're so used to, and you're playing it every day, that is where that automatic recall comes from. And we don't really like to say memorization, because when we say memorization, we got to memorize the math facts. That gives the correlation of memorization without understanding, just rote memorization. And that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for an understanding to the point where it's automatic. So a game a day keeps the worksheets away. You don't have to be looking for extra practice for worksheets if we're playing a game a day, and make it an easy game. It doesn't have to always be a super complicated one. All right. So let's move on as to how we can bring those games into your daily homeschool life. So a lot of people have multiple children. There's a lot of these questions, or these things I'm going to address in here, are questions that we get on a routine basis through customer service. And a lot of people have multiple children. And I'd like to point out that this afternoon at 1:30, Teresa is going to give a presentation about how to teach RightStart for multiple children. And so if you do have this and want more tips, please tune in today at 1:30 for that. But for right now, my tip for you with the games with multiple children is to have your older students play the younger students' games with them. And that could be the game time for your older student, okay? So it really, really works to have them all play together. And sometimes you can have them playing a game while you're teaching another student. Not enough time. So again, playing the games together. And then I would really encourage you to prioritize the games, again, over the worksheets and even sometimes the lessons. If you start RightStart around Labor Day and you plan about 4 lessons a week, you will end about Memorial Day. So a lot of people I've heard, they maybe make 1 day a week a game day, more prioritized, and they teach the other 4. But in order to really get the most out of it, prioritizing the games sometimes is hard to do because it doesn't seem like it's going to be as effective, but it really, really is. It really is. So remember number 23, we want to make sure that we prioritize and have fun, and that and putting the games higher than the worksheet sometimes is the best way to do that. Also, I've touched on this, play the easy game. Practice is always good. And as you're playing these easier games, when the kids get older and older, it starts to make even more and more connections. And so it's never a bad thing to have older kids playing games that are, that seem easy. Next on our list is modify the game. You can modify the games by setting a time limit. Hey, we've got 10 minutes. Let's play a game real quick. Those kids that love worksheets, have the kids write their equations as they play and create their own worksheet. So if they got a 2 in their hand and they're playing go to the dump, they can write 2 + 8 is 10. Or you could have all the equations, all the 1 + 9, 2 + 8, if it all set up on a worksheet, and they can just keep tally as they do the different equations as they're playing the game. You could also take a game that you really know how to play well, that you play a lot. You can keep modifying it to fit what you're learning in math class. Also, you can, be silly about who wins the game or who's doing what. So you're always free to modify the games as you see fit that works for your family. Next up, keep a game log. There are some of you that have to approve, because of homeschooling regulations, what you're doing. And by keeping a game log, it can help you give proof of the math that you're practicing, or writing those worksheets, having the kids write down their equations as they play the game. But if you keep a game log, it also helps you remember what games you know, because that book has a lot of games in it. So sometimes you get lost, or like, which games do we know? I don't remember. So you can keep a log, which ones you liked, which ones didn't work so well, what modifications you make, and then you could come back to those games that worked really well for you and just keep playing them. And a lot of people don't understand how to play the games. And we're going to talk on that right now. Like, how do you figure these games out? So we have a lot of resources available for helping you learn how to play these games. First of all, your number one resource is the game book. Recommend you pulling out your cards and reading the instructions on how to play the game with your cards in hand. Okay, this would really helps to be able to visualize and see where all the cards get laid and play like a little mini game and see what's going on. Our next resource is the RightStart Math YouTube channel. We have overview videos for each level on the YouTube channel, and even some game instructions on the YouTube channel. So you can take a look at that. We also have a math blog. You can find that at rightstartmath.com. You can go up into the little search area in the upper right corner of the website and type in your game number. Let's say you're supposed to be playing game A44. And if you type that in, there's a lot of games that have log instructions. Not all of them do, but there's a lot of them that really do. And the instructions on there have images and really detailed instructions on how to play the games. Next, we have a RightStart Math Vimeo channel, and for a really small fee, either by level or by game. So if you are in level C, let's say, and you want just video instructions on all the games in level C, it is only $5 a month, and you get all instructions for all the games in your level. And we have levels A through H. Now, if let's say there's just one game and you're struggling and you cannot figure it out and you want to watch a video, you can get them then one at a time. But there's a whole bunch of videos on Vimeo, and you can search for RightStart Math, or on our website, we also have a link to those that Vimeo channel. Another resource, we have Facebook. There is a group for each level. If you are in level C And you can head over to our Facebook Level C group. You can ask in there, hey, how do you play this game? And there's a whole bunch of people in there that'll help you out. And it's a really great resource for families for each level. And last but not least, you can call us. You can call us every day, Monday through Friday. Monday through Thursday, we're there from 8:30 to 4:30. And on Friday, we're there from 8:30 to 12:30. We answer questions on how you teach anything, how you teach, what level we should be on, how you play games. We're here to help you. Okay, so lots and lots of different resources on getting you guys playing those games every single day. All right. And I got it done in 20 minutes. So with that being said, I have a little time in here for questions. So if you have any questions, please go ahead. You can unmute and ask. You can ask in the chat, and we can get any questions that you have answered here in the last 10 minutes. So thank you, everybody. If you don't have questions, thank you so much for coming. Hopefully we will got you some really great information, and that you guys can get excited about playing games again. All right, anybody have any questions? Did I answer everybody's questions? I'll give it a moment.
We have a question in the chat that says, are there videos on the games?
Yeah, so let's go back to here. There are some videos on the YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and search for our RightStart Math, we do have some video instructions on there. We have video instructions on our Vimeo channel. And then you can even just go into YouTube, see if there's somebody else that has posted videos for the instructions of the games. Any ideas for quickly setting up the cards needed for each game? So there's different games, as far as the cards go. One thing that has worked for my family is we ended up getting a second set of multiplication cards, because that way we could have one set in the multiplication envelope. So if you guys have noticed, you've got those envelopes and you put 10 cards in each envelope. So if it's the 2's multiples, you put all the multiples of 2 in an envelope, and the 3's multiples go in the 3's envelope, and so on. And then we had a second set of multiplication cards so that we could leave everything in their envelopes and then still play other games. But we would get a deck of cards set up, let's say for go to the dump, get them all laid out and get the cards that we needed. And I would rubber band them, and we'd play that same game for a few days so that we had the cards that we needed. But yeah, there is a little bit of setup if you're switching from the different games and the different card decks. So I would recommend getting one set up and just kind of playing it for a few days. But as far as quickly, if you have an older student too, you can put them on pulling the cards out needed. Like, hey, we're going to play this game. These are the cards that we need, and see if maybe, I don't know if you have an older student that might be able to help also. Did it help you? Did that answer your question, Christy? Okay, good. Any other questions? Do games feature in higher levels of RightStart just as much? We are level C this year. Oh, thank you, Emily. I appreciate it. So you're in C. There's a lot of games that are also in the higher levels that you learn in C. So they do progress, but you're going to be adding a lot more. And as you get into G and H, there are games assigned, I think, every single day. And so we're playing, they're assigned in order to make sure that you guys are playing the games and they're not forgotten. But at the same time, if there are games in level C that you really are enjoying and playing, keep that game log and make notes of those, because you can still continue playing those games as you go through D and E and F. So, and some of those become favorites. For our personal favorites, we started playing war games And I got really good at modifying war games. And we played war games all the time, addition war and multiplication war and subtraction war and all the different types of war games. So if you find favorites that you like and see, then definitely keep track of which ones those are and keep playing those. You write in your math card games book. Yeah, that's another great way to do that too. Which ones you like, you probably put, votes. That would kind of be fun for each kid gets to vote at each game and just write it in the book, and if you've got multiple kids, you can have, thumbs up or thumbs down. Excellent question. But there is a lot of continuation of games as you go through the levels. We play a lot of the same games as they go higher and higher. We do add a lot of games though, because of course you're doing more and more, complicated work. And so some of the games do get more complicated as far as like the operations go. We're going from addition to multiplication and then, multiplying fractions and things. So. Okay, so Amanda says kids want to just keep playing the same game over. Yes, it is perfectly okay to just keep playing war. So, I would definitely encourage them to try new games here and there, but if they are really loving the war games, then like I said, I would see if you can kind of modifying the game that they like, or seeing if there's modifications in the book that kind of go along with what they're learning. Like the corners games, there are a lot of different corners variations. You can add and subtract and multiply. There's fraction corners. There's a whole bunch of different operations you can do within just the corners games. So depending on the game that they like, definitely if that's what they like I said, my kids love the war games. So we would flip over 2 multiplication cards instead of 2 addition cards and make them add the multiplication cards. So it's a little bit more complicated as they got older, or flip 2 over and make them multiply it together, or flip 2 over and whoever has the biggest remainder after you divide them. So we would get really creative. There's a lot of modifications in the book for war games, but then I would, all right, that's what you guys want to play. Let's play war games. She's wanted to say thank you for the wonderful games. We've played the corners and other games from the game book, and my kids and grandma's awesome. The whole family. That is so great to see. I've heard a lot of families that buy extra corners games to give to grandparents and other people, so then they go visit, they can play together. That it's always fun to have the whole family play corners games. And you can get pretty. We play online with some of the kids for our online class, and it's so much fun to watch them just love it and have fun, and we get silly together, and the games can be so much fun. So I really encourage, you guys to have fun with it. And sometimes it's hard to get the kid in you out, and we're so busy. So I appreciate your guys' time and interest in the games, and I really, really hope you guys all have awesome success in playing games. And make sure you share with us too your favorite games. Get on Facebook and let us know what games are working for you and the success with them, because we love hearing that too. We have about 1 more minute, so maybe one more question if anybody has one. Okay. Well, I'm not seeing one come through. So thank you everybody for coming. I hope you have a wonderful, blessed day, and hopefully get a chance to watch some of the other presentations. And there's going to be some great information this week that's going to come through for you guys. So have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Thank you.